Just do it. It'll turn out okay. Unless you're sleeping. For this movie series, that is.
Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing?
Hello.
Kind of ironic that we're doing this uh, right before I'm planning on going to bed. Ironic.
So, how are each of you introduced to the series?
Um,
I've seen all the movies.
but how were you introduced though?
That is. I can't quite remember. Like, I probably through AVGN reviewing the NES game.
Makes sense.
Yeah, like, there was a time when really the only. Like, this was when I didn't know about a whole lot of horror stuff. Like, I had maybe slight familiarity with Halloween, even though I had never seen it. But really, the only horror franchise I had seen at that point was Scream, which is ironic because Nightmare on Elm Street's another Wes Craven creation.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was introduced. I remember when I was a kid, there was this movie store at my mall. I don't remember what it was called. It was such a long time ago, but I remember seeing a lot of Freddy merchandise there. And I thought, man, this guy looks cool. And then, I remember when I was a kid, when my parents were gone, I, I I remember that I watched Nightmare on Elm Street 2 behind my parents' back when I wasn't supposed to. And I remember that I got to the part like where Freddy came out of Jesse's chest.
Right, yeah.
Scared the hell out of me as a kid. Oh my god, my jaw was dropped. And then afterwards, I remember my friend Justin at that time. He had Nightmare on Elm Street 5 on VHS. Again, I wasn't supposed to watch it, but I was like, you know what? Not like my mom's gonna know about it anyway, unless if I'm stupid enough to tell her. So yeah, so I watched Nightmare on Elm Street 5 without her knowing, and yeah, so then then I remember I was watching Freddy versus Jason at my parents' house when I still lived there, and I remember I was watching that behind our back, and then my parents were coming home, so I quickly turned off the TV. Then I found out that I was watching it, and I remember that I got in trouble, and then, but yeah, that's how I was introduced to A Nightmare on Elm Street.
For me, it was, I think it was third or fourth grade. I was 9 or 10. I was at a camp, day camp, for my learning disability thing I had, and one day they just showed us this movie, the fifth, the Problem Child. I think it was the fifth one, the Problem Child, or Nightmare Child. I forget what it was called. It was the fifth
Dream
movie.
Child.
Dream Child. And yeah, it was interesting.
Not that it was, but hey, I will be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, we started early. Early start, early finish if possible.
So that way everybody can get to bed. Well, I'm probably not going to bed because
I'll be going to bed for another few hours myself because I have a friend coming over later to play some. We have gaming nights.
Sweet.
And right now we're playing Ni no Kuni 2.
Tomorrow I'm doing a watch party with a friend because he has extra time tomorrow. We're going to watch two movies. One movie I picked, one movie he picked. My pick was My Cousin Vinny. and his pick was James Cameron's Avatar. So that'll be fun tomorrow.
The first one.
First Avatar, yes.
All right, yeah, sorry about that. So anyways, let's start off with the one, the only, the classic, the original. So, when did you two first see the original?
I did not like the first movie in the series I ever watched was probably Freddy versus Jason, I want to say.
Okay.
Maybe, and I think I also briefly caught like the 2010 remake on like cable, but I didn't pay too much attention to it.
Well, you're probably better off that way, just to be honest.
I mean, I am going to speak in defense of the remake later on, but we'll get to it when we
I
get to
will be
that.
curious. I will be curious to hear that. So
I have not. I have not seen the. I've seen bits and pieces of the first one, but it's like most horror movies. I haven't gone full force like you guys have.
yeah.
Well, but anyway, so I did finally see the first one. I want to say a few years ago because I got the Blu-ray set. So my Blu-ray set has all the movies except Freddy vs. Jason and the remake. It has everything from the original to New Nightmare.
I'm guessing maybe. Oh, wait, all of them were done by New Line, so it can't be. So it can't be because of rights.
No, it's not because of rights. I guess they just wanted to package the original movies, and because Freddy vs. Jason's a bit of a gray area, like people can't seem to decide whether it truly belongs with Friday the 13th or with Nightmare on Elm Street. Like it belongs to both, but for example, Freddy vs. Jason is included in my Friday the 13th box set. And then there's some box sets of Nightmare on Elm. Oddly enough, I don't think I've seen a Nightmare on Elm Street box set that includes Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah, I know I have my Nightmare on Elm Street box set, but I can't remember if it has Freddy vs. Jason or not. But yeah, there are those who consider that movie more of like a spin-off. I mean, if you want to interpret it that way, you could if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I didn't finally see the original movie until I was a freshman in high school because I wasn't allowed to watch those movies for the longest time. But like I said earlier, it certainly didn't stop me from watching some of the other movies. I finally saw the first movie on iTunes when I had my iPod Touch at that time. And that right there shows just how long ago it was because nobody has an iPod anymore. And so I didn't.
Yeah, I remember buying movies and shows off of iTunes way before Hulu and Netflix were a thing.
Yeah.
Well, you can still buy movies off iTunes and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Now, matter of fact, they made it easier to watch iTunes movies because originally it's like you needed an Apple device in order to watch them, or you needed like the iTunes app on a computer. Now, because of like Apple TV Plus, they actually do have like Apple apps for like PlayStation, Xbox, and not only is it just the Apple TV Plus service, you can watch whatever you bought on iTunes.
Yep. Yep, that definitely is very true. And yeah, I kind of wish that I saw it on a bigger screen for the first time, but hey, at least I finally got to see the movie. And yeah, out of all the Nightmare movies, it definitely is a cliche to say that the original is the best. But I mean, for the case of Nightmare on Elm Street, it really truly is. It's because it takes itself more seriously. And I love the concept. I love the concept of a killer who kills you in your dreams. It's because that when the original movie came out, slasher movies were kind of starting to run their course. And then Freddy came along and it did something very original.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's such an effective concept because everybody sleeps.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true or not, but there's a thing on before a long time ago, and it's still happening or not, that people at the time people said what happens in your dream can affect you in real life, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And so, but yeah, just knowing the fact that he kills you in your dreams, and once he kills you in your dreams, you actually die for real. It's an amazing concept. And so I did research. So Wes Craven said that he named the character Freddy Krueger off of somebody who used to pick on him back when he was a kid. And I can't help but wonder, does the real Freddy Krueger know about that? And how does he feel about that?
Hmm.
I can't help but wonder. And then,
I'd be like royalties, please.
yeah, royalties, please. And he said that the look of the hat, he said that when he looked out his window once, there was some guy standing there with a hat similar to what Freddy wore. He was just looking at him the whole entire time. And Wes Craven said that that guy freaked him out. And then he said that he based that off of Freddy Krueger, and he said that he got the red and green sweater because he read some scientific paper that said that red and green are the two colors that the eyes have the hardest to see or something like that. So then he said, yeah, that's going to be the color of the sweater. And oh yeah, and then this actually was Johnny Depp's very first movie. It's so weird to see him young. He was young in the original movie, and from my understanding, the only reason why that he got cast was because Wes Craven's daughter or whoever it was thought that he was hot.
Okay.
So interesting bit of trivia.
Well, Friday the 13th is also notable for having a young, I think Kevin Bacon's his
Yes,
name?
yes.
Yeah.
Uh, two questions. Was this you mentioned this earlier, but was this the last of all the horror movies we reviewed so far? Was this the last latest one in the chronology of the ones we reviewed so far?
Say what? Sorry.
We've reviewed Halloween,
I think we did Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. I think we
Massacre. I know we did that one.
so was this the latest? Was this the last one be in the series? I mean,
I guess it depends on how you interpret it. I guess. I mean, there were other horror movie franchises that came out after this, like Saw.
that's that. We got to that one yet. So yeah, the ones we reviewed so far. This is the last one, I think.
But yeah, and then after Nightmare on Elm Street, there also did come like the Child's Play
Oh yeah, the
too.
I've seen those movies. Actually, that's the one. That's the one series I think I've seen more than one movie of.
Yeah, speaking of the original Nightmare on Elm Street, well, let me find it. I actually got an autograph from Heather Langenkamp.
Ah, Nancy.
Yep, Nancy herself signed that for me.
So it was a part of Johnny Depp's deal with the devil after 21 Jump Street. As long as it said the same role twice.
But yeah, but yeah, I mean, the original Nightmare on Elm Street has so many memorable moments, like that part where Freddy's claws coming out of the bathtub, and Nancy talking on the phone, and then Freddy says, "I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy," and then
Can
And
I just mention? Can I just mention how Freddy really stood out compared to other slasher villains?
he did.
Because not only in like his supernatural qualities, like how he invades dreams, like the claw glove and everything, like how like he can do whatever he wanted because he was in the dream world. It's actually the real simple thing. It's how much he talked. Because if you remember, slasher villains that came before Freddy, like the big ones anyway, like Leatherface just spoke in incoherent mumbling, and then Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees, they didn't speak at all. But Freddy, no, he talks to them. Like he'll have an entire conversation if he wants. Like especially how it's like I forget who the name of his first victim, but it's like I forget what his first line of dialogue is. She starts running away. She yells "No!" and then he just shows up out of nowhere. He's like, "Yes."
Yeah.
So what was he influenced at all by Wolverine because of the claws?
Probably not.
I don't think so. I think it could just be a coincidence. Why I like that they both have claws. But
Now,
and even Freddy's weapon, like with like the glove, it's a very unique choice of weapon, considering that most slasher villains will use like a knife or a machete or a chainsaw.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, knowing that Freddy uses his own custom-made glove made him even more unique, and I think that that's why Freddy became such a popular character.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and according to research, Freddy was supposed to be a child pedophile in the movie, but there are all of like these allegations going on at that time. So Wes Craven decided to make him a child killer instead.
Well, and we'll get to this later on. The remake ended up going with the original idea.
They did, and the new idea made more sense because of like the glove that he had. So yeah, I guess it depends on how you look at it. And Robert Englund actually was not the original choice. Well, I like to play Freddy. I believe Mark Hamill and Robert Englund knew each other, and I think I recall something like how Mark Hamill encouraged Robert to go audition for it.
I thought you were about to say Mark Hamill almost went for the role.
Uh,
Like,
Here, I'm gonna look that up now. I just want to make sure that I'm getting that right.
so now the movie starts, if I remember correctly, that the parents killed Freddy in real life.
Uh huh.
It's because I think the court he kept getting away with it, and the parents had enough, so they killed him themselves.
Yeah, and what I love about the original is that you don't actually see that, and then you have to fantasize that all in your head, which actually kind of, I think that actually kind of makes it more effective.
Mm.
That's my opinion.
And is it a long time between him dying and him committing the murders?
The kids that he attacked when they were kids, they're teenagers by the time he comes back, so it's a little bit of a while.
Here, I'm looking them up.
Mm.
Okay, so according to Looper.com, Robert Englund led Mark Hamill over to the role of Luke Skywalker.
Huh.
Interesting. And yeah, and Jackie Earl Haley was supposed to have a role in the original movie,
He
But that didn't
was?
work out. So what, sorry?
He was? Because, you know, Jackie Earle Haley's the guy who would later play Freddy in the remake, and even
Yeah.
people who hate the remake agree that Jackie Earle Haley did a great job in that.
Oh yeah, I definitely do agree. Jackie Earle Haley definitely was not the problem. He
Okay,
definitely wasn't.
but we'll get to that when we get to that. So back
Yeah,
to the original.
Like, so what death stood out the most to you?
Oh,
Johnny Depp's.
Is that the
yeah,
one in the
Johnny
bed?
Depp's with
Is that the one in the bed?
bed.
The one where he goes in the bed and out gushes out like shitloads of blood.
Yeah, and I believe I heard something that when they were making the first movie, when they did that effect, something went wrong with that, and uh, I don't really remember the full story, but yeah, I heard something similar. But yeah, I heard something about how when they were filming that scene, that something went wrong. Here, I'm gonna look it up on IMDb just to be sure. But yeah, it's hard to say what death scene stood out to me the most because all of them were so memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Dapper says the room rotated.
Yes, it did. Yeah, and I believe that that's why that went wrong. And yeah, they also used that room for a ton of other movies too, but I just can't remember which ones. And yeah, according to IMDb, New Line Cinema was saved from bankruptcy because of how big of a hit the original film was. So
Well,
if
at the
it wasn't
time,
for Bruno,
well, keep in mind at the time, New Line Cinema was not a big studio at all. Like,
correct.
basically, they were known for like cheap, low budget crap. Like, as far as I'm aware, like Nightmare on Elm Street was like their first big thing. Unless there
So
was something else of theirs that I'm not aware of.
So yeah, so the scene where Freddy's arms were elongated was achieved by having men with fishing poles on each side of the alley operating a set of puppet arms.
Hmm.
so the series overall was this was that one girl the same character in all 5 movies?
No.
But yeah, Nancy came back in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, but we'll talk about that later. And then she kind of sort of came back for New Nightmare.
For New Nightmare, but New Nightmare is an interesting case.
It is, yeah, because she's not playing Nancy, she's playing herself.
Like, New Nightmare is not part of the continuity. Basically, it's in a fictionalized real world where like Nightmare on Elm Street was like a big hit and everything. Like, yeah.
So according to IMDb, Heather Langenkamp beat out Demi Moore and Courtney Cox. So
Holy shit.
yeah, Demi Moore and Courtney Cox both of them almost played Nancy.
Well, at least Courtney Cox got to work with Wes Craven later.
Yep, you read my mind. Yeah, and Wes Craven said that he said it on Elm Street because that's the street where John F. Kennedy was shot at.
Interesting.
It is. And there's that scene in Nightmare on Elm Street 6, like where he says every town has an Elm Street. Ironic he said that because very close to my university, there actually is one.
Huh.
And every time I see that street, you can probably imagine the first thing that comes to my mind.
Well, I'm not sure if it was Elm Street. I gotta look it up again. But do you know what street we do have one town over? We have a Sesame Street.
Oh my god.
Hey, speaking of parodies, like didn't the Simpsons parody this one time, one of their Halloween episodes?
What?
Nightmare on Elm Street.
there actually was a parody of A Nightmare on Elm Street in The Simpsons, and the one who they decided to be Freddy would be groundskeeper Willie. Interesting choice.
So I remember, was the bathtub scene also in the first movie?
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. So yeah, it took about 3 hours to get Robert Englund into Freddy makeup. I can believe that.
And like all things, the adults don't believe him at first, or they
that's actually adds a new layer of horror to the thing because they're trying not to go to sleep because if they go to sleep, Freddy's gonna get them.
Yeah.
But the parents think they're just delirious, like they think they're going crazy, and they think because they're feeling sick, they think the best thing to do for them is to go to sleep. Like, it's okay, like, we're just gonna sedate you, you're gonna go to sleep. Like, they think they're helping them, but they're just dooming them without knowing it.
So how did... Sorry, go on.
So according to IMDb, not only did Wes Craven's daughter think Johnny Depp was hot, she also threatened to run away from home if he wasn't cast.
That sounds so similar to how Richard Harris was cast as Dumbledore in the first 2 Harry Potter movies.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because Richard Harris did not want to do Harry Potter, but I guess his granddaughter, I think, threatened to never speak to him again if he didn't take the role.
Huh.
And it's funny because Richard Harris did actually come to love the role to the point where when he was on his deathbed after finishing filming Chamber of Secrets, he did not want the role to be recast. And of course they had to recast him after he passed away. But yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have a choice. And
yeah,
then
luckily they
after-
luckily they didn't go the CGI route like they do in movies nowadays.
Oh yeah. But now for Nightmare on Elm Street 1, is there anything else to really say?
So how did they defeat him? How was he defeated in the first movie?
Oh yeah, Nancy actually sets up traps. So like she's trying to lure him out of the dream world into the real world. But yeah, the one thing I don't like about the original Nightmare on Elm Street is at the very end with that sequel bait when Freddy pulls Nancy's mom in from like that door window. It looks obviously fake and kind of phony.
Yeah.
But that was because Robert Shea was wanting sequels to it when Wes Craven did it. So both of them had to come to a compromise. So yeah, that's my only gripe with the original. But other than that, the original
probably my one big thing with the original is I feel like they had the premise and everything there all in all its glory, but I feel like it wasn't as creative as like some of the later sequels would be. That said, we'll get to it when we get to it. I actually might consider the third movie my favorite of the bunch, only because I felt like it took more advantage of like the dream world premise.
True.
But yeah, the first one is still like close second for me.
All right, then.
Yeah, and interesting. According to IMDb, the words Elm Street are never spoken at all during the original movie. That's bizarre. But anyways, I guess on to the sequel.
Freddy's Revenge.
The very first Freddy movie I ever saw.
I will say the second Nightmare movie is one I'm a little bit mixed on.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, it's one of the more controversial ones.
I will say it's actually found a pretty big LGBT fan base, only because so for one thing, you have Jesse, who's notably, I think, the only male main character in the series.
Yeah, like there's not many horror movies where a male is the main character. It's
Yeah.
usually a female. But yeah, since I'm trying to avoid controversial topics, I'm not going to talk about the LGBT thing. So, and if you and Ben Dilly want to talk about that aspect,
Well, it's only a brief thing to touch upon. Like, basically, most I can say is I do well, I I think it's cool that the movie has attracted like an LGBT fan base because basically lots of them see it as like Jesse's story in the movie as like an allegory for coming out. And what further fuels that case is that Jesse's actor IRL came out as gay. In fact, unfortunately, he actually got HIV, which has now developed into AIDS.
ouch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
Sorry.
So I just think it's interesting that the movie's gotten like an LGBT fan base because of that. I think it's a pretty mediocre movie, and I don't connect with that because I am not LGBT, but I have lots of friends who are, so I could see, yeah, like maybe they can connect to it on that front.
Right, and there's also that part where that guy like gets slapped on his butt. Ow. So there's also a sign on one of the characters' rooms that says that there are no guys allowed inside.
Yeah.
So I can see why people have interpreted the movie that way. And so, according to IMDb,
It's like on that front, I can kind of respect how the movie has like sort of a fan base following it. But for me, yeah, it's got some good horror moments, like the fact that basically Freddy's trying to get reborn through Jesse, like through like how he comes at Jesse's chest and everything. It's got its moments, but to me, the movie is pretty damn mediocre because it is freaking dull.
So
yeah,
I missed the earlier part you're talking about. So was this like an early LTBG movie thing in the movies or something?
It's not directly stated in the movie, but lots of people saw it as an allegory for because I mean, especially helped by Jesse's actor, like the main character in the movie, that he did come out as gay like afterward.
Yeah, so New Line originally didn't want Robert Englund to come back as Freddy. It was because that they didn't want to give him a pay raise. So instead, they hired a stuntman, and they realized that the stuntman was terrible. You can actually see like the footage of the stuntman. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. And so what they did was that they fired the stuntman, and then they rehired Englund, and then it gave him the pay raise.
Well, good for Robert Englund.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So was there any difference between the murders of, like the acting and murders of this movie compared to the first one?
It was an entirely new cast other than Robert Englund, I believe.
Yep, and Kim Myers, she was cast in the movie simply because she looks like Meryl Streep. She actually does. She really, truly does. And I've had people tell me that I look like Walter White Jr. So
Walter White Jr.
Yep, people have told me that a lot.
Do you have a meth lab in your house?
No.
Good.
Oh, interesting. According to IMDb, Michael J. Fox was considered for the role of Jesse.
What year did this movie come out?
1985.
So about the same time as Back to the Future then.
Yeah.
So that's probably why.
Yeah.
So the director, Jack Shoulder, or how you pronounce it, he said he couldn't direct the pool house love scene without cracking up or laughing. So he gave it to an assistant to direct instead.
Hmm.
So yeah, this movie actually was a bigger hit that than the original was.
That's
Is that what? Is that one of the few times the sequel is better than the original?
Well, on a financial level,
on a
yes.
financial level, but the sequel is. I mean, it's not really a bad movie, but it's pretty mediocre.
But yeah, it's definitely not as good as the original, even though I do have a soft spot for it because it was the first Freddy movie that I ever saw.
Yeah.
So how did they defeat Freddy in this movie?
Well,
In
the
so
thing is, Freddy gets reborn through Jesse, and basically Jesse reclaims control of his body, I believe.
Huh. So according to IMDb, Robert Englund even says that Freddy's Revenge is his least favorite out of the whole series.
I don't know if I go that far, but it is a pretty dull movie.
Yeah, it's not as good as the original. There are people who say either part two, part five, or the remake are the worst. There are even people who say that part six is one of the worst.
I have to go with 6, personally.
I can see why. So,
Yeah.
So anything else about this movie you guys want to talk about, or any death scenes that stand out to you?
Not really.
um, I guess what we were talking about Freddy coming out of Jesse's chest, but then the plot hole is, isn't it pretty clear that Jesse would die from that? And then in the very next shot, it looks like as if he just has just a little cut. So that's a little plot hole in the movie. Oh yeah, and it's the only movie in the franchise to not use the Nightmare on Elm Street theme song.
Interesting.
But yeah, Dapper, we will get to the TV series, but later on. So anything else to say about Freddy's Revenge?
Mm,
Not really.
like not for me really.
Okay,
And
that's the time to move on.
and thus begins the Dream trilogy.
Yeah, Dream Warriors. This is one of my favorites. It's hard for me to decide what was my favorite, the original or Dream Warriors.
For me, I kind of have to go with the third one, as I said before, only because I felt like it got a little bit more creative with the dream world, and I just thought like the main characters were like a bit more interesting how they come together.
Yeah, and I love that scene, like where Freddy's using that guy as like a puppet, but like
Yeah.
he's using like his veins as like the puppet strings. That is so memorable, and I also love that scene where he grabs that girl and he says, "Welcome to prime time, bitch," and then he brings her into the TV and then smashes her head. That is such a memorable scene.
Yeah, you
And
mentioned this. Sorry.
I do gotta say, the movie was like the first. It was like the seeds getting planted for like the modern movie making style that Wes Craven would wind up using, like in some of the later sequels, and especially the Scream series, like in terms of, like soundtrack, like the way everything's shown.
Now you mentioned that the Nancy character returned for this movie. Why come she
She
was in the second?
basically, so the plot of it is that Nancy is sort of like guiding like a new cast of characters, like
Makes sense.
that, like basically, so Freddy's invading their dreams. Nancy is helping guide them to basically the reason it's called Dream Warriors is that she's guiding them to sort of take control of their own dreams and like have their own powers to fight off Freddy.
Yeah, and so cool thing about one of the main characters in 2013, Ken Segos, who was in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4. I actually got to meet him, and then he signed this.
Aw.
Pretty awesome, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, I love Nightmare 3 is because it's more connected to the original, creative kills, and I also really love the characters. You actually care about them.
Yeah. I mean, so spoiler for the movie, but this is a discussion. One point of contention for people is the fact that, should I say?
Sure.
Yeah.
One point of contention for people is that Nancy dies in the movie.
Yeah, I can see why people would take issue about that.
Yeah, like basically, like I forget what the character's name is, but the movie does end as a sort of a passing of the torch from Nancy to like the other like lead female character.
So she wasn't supposed to be like the. Well, I forget her name. Like her of the. She wasn't supposed to be the main character, like the Halloween series.
You mean like Laurie Strode from Halloween? Like Nancy, yeah, she basically was the Laurie at that point.
She pretty much was. And oh my god, according to IMDb, for 1 week during filming of this movie, Robert Englund was working 24 hours every day. By day, he was wrapping up filming on his television series Downtown. And then at nighttime, he would be doing this movie. Oh my god, he must have been exhausted. But hey, whatever will help him make ends meet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything stand out in this movie compared to the first two?
Oh man, the kill scenes were so memorable, and I mean the story is memorable. I like what it does to the original characters with Nancy, but I also like what it does with new characters. Like this is almost like the perfect sequel. This is how you do a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and that's why a lot of people say that Dream Warriors is one of the best of the whole entire series. Oh, and it was the first writing credit of Oscar-nominated writer Frank Darabont, who would later go on to direct The Shawshank.
Oh yeah, I know Frank Darabont.
Yeah, and it was directed by Chuck Russell, who would go on to direct The Mask, and then he also would direct The Scorpion King.
Wow.
Well, 2 out of 3 movies aren't bad. So.
Oh yeah, the scene where the Freddy snake appears. I remember watching a behind the scenes documentary. They had to repaint that because it looked, I'm not trying to be vulgar. They said that it looked like a penis. So because of that, they then had to repaint it.
So what year did this come out?
1987, yes.
So okay, Kristen, I think is the name of the character that was sort of meant to have the torch passed from Nancy.
Yes.
As like the mentor character.
Was she the one that had the baby in the 5th movie?
No.
No, that was someone else.
Right.
So, in fact, we'll actually get to that. So, Nightmare on Elm Street 4. So you have 3 characters still alive from Nightmare on Elm Street 3, including Kristen. Except Kristen gets killed off pretty early on, and she passes on her powers to a new character called Alice.
Speaking of Alice,
Another autograph?
Yep. I also met her too. Let me find the autograph. Yep. Right there.
Awesome. Because Alice is a little bit significant.
Right there.
Nice.
So, anyways.
Yeah, Alice is a little bit significant. So the other two surviving characters from Nightmare 3 also get axed off. But the thing with Nightmare on Elm Street 4 is that it's sort of a more ridiculous retread of Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Like, I think that's Nightmare on Elm Street 4 is like where the gif of like Freddy on the beach putting on sunglasses comes from.
Yeah, that was cheesy. And
Yeah.
I will admit, it was really stupid how Freddy comes back. He comes back because a dog pisses on his grave. Who could take that seriously? And then Kristen, in the previous movie, was played by Arquette,
Yeah.
who was related to David Arquette. And David Arquette also has a connection with Wes Craven because David Arquette would go on to play Dewey in all
In Scream, yeah.
movies. So
Dever says 4 was the highest grossing in the franchise until Freddy vs. Jason.
yes, it was. That is very correct. And it's also the directorial debut of Rennie Harlan. Rennie Harlan would go on to direct Die Hard 2, Deep
Blue Sea.
and some other big name movies too. But
So how they go from being warriors to masters?
one problem that I have with Nightmare 4, a lot of the characters from the third movie are killed off. Even when I met Ken Sagos from Nightmare on Elm Street 3, I asked him, so how did you feel when they killed off your character in 4? He was not happy about it.
Yeah.
Not happy. And even when I met him, he said, yeah, the only thing people know me from is A Nightmare on Elm Street. And he seemed kind of annoyed that that's the only thing people know him from.
Like,
but hey, at least you're known for something.
so he's like typecast then.
Yeah, pretty much. He has tried to go on to do other things. I know he did do It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. The reason why I know that is because I met him, and he told me that. He seemed really irritated that that's the only thing he is known for. So.
But is he at least friendly with fans?
Yes. Yeah.
Good, because that sort of reminded me of a story of one of the Power Ranger actors, specifically Emma Lahana, who played Kira in Dino Thunder.
Uh-huh.
For years, she was pretty friendly with fans. Like, she would go to conventions and everything. And then she landed a role on Marvel's Cloak and Dagger. It's like the moment she landed that role, something snapped in her.
I never heard about this.
Very suddenly, she was like, the moment she landed that role, it was like a switch flipped in her brain, and she suddenly became very hostile towards Power Ranger fans.
Ouch.
Like, she would get angry when people would refer to her as Kira on Twitter. Like, she stopped attending conventions. She ignored requests to return to the like, because they were doing like a big Dino team up for like Beast Morphers. I'm pretty sure she refused to come back for that. Like, and the funny thing is, I think what was going through her head is that she thought Power Rangers was below her now that she landed like a show with freaking Marvel Studios. Like, and that ended up being for nothing because Cloak and Dagger ended after 2 seasons, and she has not been in anything since.
Well, at least she didn't commit murder like the Wild Force Red Ranger did.
Well, there's that saying, karma, and what goes around comes around. So.
Or don't forget your
and it's like, it's funny because the guy who played Connor in Dino Thunder also doesn't associate with the series anymore. But at least he had the decency to make it not anything personal, because apparently from the beginning he only considered it just another acting gig he got only to fund his career in directing, which apparently he made a pretty damn good movie over in New Zealand.
Okay, well that's pretty awesome.
So,
but yeah, so even according to IMDb, when Nona Ryder, who would later go on to be in a movie with Johnny Depp, Edward Scissorhands,
yeah.
allegedly she auditioned for the role of Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting connection.
Lots of interesting connections.
Yep, and that's what Hollywood's all about. Hollywood is about who you know.
Yeah.
So this is the fourth movie. Was it still going strong, or the fans getting tired of by this point?
I mean, it was the highest earning movie in the series up to that point. And I'm of the opinion, while it is a sillier movie and it was kind of questionable that they killed off the surviving characters from Nightmare 3, like kind of without care, I will admit that it is still a pretty fun watch, if only because Alice is a pretty fun character. Like she's interesting to watch. Like the new characters that come in are also engaging enough. And Freddy, even though he kind of has like that, to me at least, he strikes that right balance between hammy moments and threatening moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nightmare 4 was the very first movie where Robert Englund received the top billing. And at this point in the series, you might as well should.
So how much did he make?
How much did he make on his salary?
Is he was top billing?
I'm going to look that up now.
Right, while you're looking it up, was there any in this movie? Was there any murders that stood out to you? I know one that stood out to me in the next movie. I'll get to it then.
That girl was bench pressing, and then Freddy bent her arms all the way back, and then you see her bones popping out.
Isn't this the movie, or was that Nightmare 3, where there's one girl who has a fear of bugs or something, and her arms slowly change into bug arms and everything?
I think that was Nightmare 4.
Nightmare 4.
Okay, Robert Englund's net worth is $18 million. Wow. I wish I had a net worth of that. Not seeing anything about what his salary was.
So what does top billing mean then? That most money? Was he the first one?
He's the first one credited in the credits.
Yep.
He was front and center on the posters.
Yep, so that's what it means to be top billed. When you look at a poster, whoever's name comes first.
So, are you top billing in the Flat Earth movie?
Yes, and I'm also top billed in the Rise of the JWs, and top billed in the one about people who deny dinosaurs. So yes.
It's a good thing you know the director then, and the writer. Good thing you're friends with him.
Yeah, definitely. So, according to IMDb, Wes Craven turned down New Line Cinema's offer to direct Nightmare 4.
Is your off topic real fast? Is your movie stuff in IMDb?
I actually am trying to harp on that, which I should be on IMDb because I was in a movie called Hobbs and Phil vs. Zombies, and that movie is on IMDb, but I am just not credited on the IMDb page of that, so I should be, but I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
So, according to IMDb, Rennie Harlan got the director's job by refusing to take no for an answer. So, So this right here goes to show that if you want something, you really got to be persistent about it.
Yeah. Wish I was persistent about stuff.
Dabra's got a handful of IMDb credits.
Oh, like what?
We're waiting for that. So, how was Freddy defeated in this movie?
Did he turn to like a giant Freddy or?
I'm not sure. It kind of escapes me at the moment.
No,
I haven't seen this movie since I was a teenager, so
I rewatched all of them last year, but it's like been almost a year.
according to IMDb, Nightmare 4 was the highest grossing horror film released that year. And that year also came Halloween 4 and Child's Play.
1988, right?
Yes, 1988. I believe Friday the 13th Part 7 came out that year too, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
now, let's take a look at the next movie. Did Freddy impregnate one of the girls in this movie? Or
Nightmare on Elm Street 5. So, to quickly summarize what I thought of Nightmare on Elm Street 5. So, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, if you consider Nightmare on Elm Street 4 to be a not as good rehash of Nightmare on Elm Street 3, 5 is a not as good rehash of 4. Like, I thought some of the kills and effects were still creative and Freddy was still fun, but the thing with Nightmare on Elm Street 5 is that the plot was extremely convoluted for me. Like, it was something about Alice having a baby that Freddy wanted for some reason.
Oh, so he wasn't the father then?
No. They also upped the ante on Freddy's like silliness a little bit more. Like it's like not completely stupid at this point, but like it's starting to get there.
Yeah, this is the one where I remember from watching it as a kid, the comic book murder.
Yes, now I will admit that comic book death scene definitely was very creative, but was it scary? No. So, according to IMDb, Stephen King and Frank Miller were offered to write the script and even to direct it.
Wow.
I never knew that.
Stephen King, huh?
Stephen King.
They were really going to let him have that after he directed Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah, and isn't that movie notorious for being a really, really bad movie?
Yeah, you know what happened? So before you came in, or before when you were like gone for a second, I noted tomorrow I'm doing a watch party with a friend. We're gonna do My Cousin Vinny and James Cameron's Avatar. Those are movies we both picked out. I wanted to get him a copy of My Cousin Vinny for Christmas. So I ordered it on Amazon. They sent him a PAL copy of Maximum Overdrive instead.
Wow, that's crazy. According to IMDb, Stephen Hawking, the director, was given just 4 weeks to shoot this movie, even less than the 8 weeks that Rennie Harlan got for Nightmare 4, and further 4 weeks for editing. And so it was impressive at that time because he was only 28. And because of that, 20th Century Fox heard of that, and then they hired him for Predator 2.
Now, didn't this movie also have some stuff about Freddy's backstory too?
Yes.
His mom was a nun or something.
Yeah. And then they further elaborate that on Nightmare 6 about his backstory. But yeah, this one was it was a hit, but it wasn't as big of a hit as the previous movie was. So because of that, New Line Cinema decided that they weren't going to rely on Nightmare on Elm Street as their cash cow anymore. So that's why Nightmare 6 ended up being the final movie up.
Or as they called it, Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare.
Yep.
And my opinion, Freddy's Dead is the worst movie in the series. I mean, it was fine for me to watch, just with the knowledge it was trash. Like, let's just say, by Freddy's Dead, they had fully devolved into ridiculous Friday the 13th antics. Like, the movie was a straight up cartoon. Was not scary at all. The plot was still incomprehensible. And for a movie that was supposed to end the series, it did not feel like a finale.
Now,
the only thing that legitimately worked is like the scenes of Freddy's backstory. But really, the only reason to watch the movie, at least for me, was the ridiculous set pieces.
Now, I'm going to be honest. Do I get why people don't like Freddy's Dead? Yes, I do. I get it. If people want to say it's the worst of the series, I get it. I'm not going to lie. It's a guilty pleasure on my end. Because, yes, is it ridiculous? Yes. But I can't help but be entertained by it. I can't help but laugh at it. Especially
like, I'm not denying that I'm not denying that I laugh at it, but like, still, I'm just thinking it's like basically, whenever I rate movies on Letterboxd, I still rate so bad it's good movies, like on a lower scale, just because, yeah, I laugh at them, but it's like I still think they're kind of bad.
So is Freddy's Dead before or after the Final Nightmare?
New Nightmare is its own thing.
I said
not really connected to the series.
No, I meant I thought it was called the Final Night. No, one's called the Final Nightmare.
The full title is Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare.
Oh, it's the same movie then.
Yeah, so according to IMDb, Peter Jackson was offered to write the script, and his script saw an aging Freddy where he's growing weak, like where people would go into the dream world just to beat him up. It's an interesting idea. And this also saw the return of Johnny Depp in the series, granted just as a cameo, but... And you also see a cameo from Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper plays Freddy's father. Isn't that interesting? But there's a lot of cameos in Freddy's Dead. Like, there's a cameo from someone else really famous at that time. I forget, but yeah, Alice Cooper said that he did the movie because he's a big fan of Nightmare on Elm Street, and on top of that, he wasn't wearing all that makeup like that he usually does whenever he performs at concerts. And yeah, and it's also notable that this is the first 3D film in the series, although only the very end of the movie is in. Yeah, Tom Arnold and Roseanne Barr, yeah. Those are the people I was thinking of. Thank you. So, Nick, how do you feel about the end with the movie being in 3D?
Kind of indifferent.
I kind of felt like it was kind of unnecessary. Like, why not just make the whole movie in 3D?
Make it like Nightmare on Elm Street, nothing Friday the 13th 3.
Was this the time? Was this the era time where 3D was a big thing in all movies?
3D had kind of faded by that point because like it was like the 80s, like the early to mid 80s where there was like a big 3D craze.
Yep.
I think it came. I think it came. I think they make it come back later on, like in the 2000s, a little bit.
Yeah, during the 2000s, but not really the 90s.
Yeah, and I believe before. Wait, I believe it was during Nightmare 4, like when they did the TV series. The TV series very loosely has anything to do with the franchise. Like Freddy is the host, but only like the first episode has anything to do with the franchise itself because it's about like his backstory. Oh yeah, so about his backstory. It's established that there is like these little weird creatures or whatever, like the possessed Freddy or something.
I thought they were like I thought they were demons or something.
Yeah, demons or whatever they were.
They probably gave him his powers and all that stuff.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and Rachel Talalay, the one who directed this movie, is the only female to ever direct one of the Nightmare films.
Interesting.
That it is.
Right.
And it's also notable that in this, Freddy kills somebody with like the power glove. Now I'm playing with power.
Yeah, that's where the freaking video game freaking Freddy kill comes from.
Yeah. Is it cringe? Yes. But is it entertaining? Yes.
I
And
think the guy he kills by the video game, isn't there this part where like he's sort of rendered like in 2D and he does like this Mario jump up the stairs or something and then he jumps into a hole on purpose?
So which was more cringy? Freddy's line with the power glove, or that one guy from the Wizard's line with the power glove?
that's, I have to put a lot of thought into that. And it's funny because there actually was a Nightmare on Elm Street video game for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
But it was based on Nightmare 3, I believe.
It was, but I played it. There's a lot of random stuff in it, like there's skeletons, Frankenstein monsters. I'm like, I don't remember any of this in any of the Nightmare movies.
I know AVGN didn't like it, but my friend DL Jado, as well as Alma Elma, who was in chat, they both like it.
Oh, excuse me. But yeah, I tried playing it in an episode of Let's Play a Game on my channel. I couldn't really figure out what I'm supposed to do in that game.
Mm.
So do you play as Freddy or as one of the teenagers?
You play as one of the teens.
So in the next movie, they just have to go all meta and stuff.
So, Wes Craven's new Nightmare is not set in the main continuity, so it's again set in a fictionalized real world. Where like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies kind of fizzled out, which basically the whole thing is an allegory for like how the Nightmare on Elm Street movies were like once a big thing, but like they're not a big thing anymore. Like the slasher genre has just kind of died out. And so it stars Heather Langenkamp, who played Nancy in 1 and 3. She plays herself, and Wes Craven himself is in the movie, and like he's trying to write out like a new horror script. And then there's this entity that takes the form of Freddy, and like there's a big explanation for why it's doing what it's doing, but like basically it's not the Freddy from the movies. It's like a real life supernatural villain that just takes Freddy's form.
Yeah, it's a really interesting idea, and But yeah,
Like it has a lot of like the thing that Wes Craven would do was Scream. Yeah, Robert Englund does appear as himself. He of course plays the quote unquote Freddy in the movie. And the thing with the movie is that it has a lot of social commentary about like Nightmare on Elm Street series' rise and fall at the time. Like social commentary would be like the big thing that Wes Craven would later do in the Scream movies. So,
and yeah, and I also believe there even was some social commentary about how whether or not if it's moral, like for children, to be watching those films or not. I believe so. It's been a while since I've seen it, and yeah, and
moral. What does that mean?
Moral, like whether or not if it's right to do it or not.
Yeah, when people say that thing immoral, that that can mean so many things. People use that buzzword around sometimes.
And yeah, and also what's interesting, this also even happens in real life where there's lines and lines of people getting Robert's autograph, like where Nancy, Heather, and Lancav is just sitting there like without like without those long lines. So,
for reference, I have a former friend of mine. He once showed me a picture because the thing with him and his twin brother is that their dad liked giving them everything they wanted. And in this case, what they wanted was to go to a fan convention where they'd be able to meet, I think it was like an AMC fan convention, where basically fans could meet actors from both Breaking Bad and Walking Dead. And this guy's twin brother went and took a picture with Norman Reedus, who plays Daryl on Walking Dead. And as for the guy himself, he met R.J. Mitt and Giancarlo Esposito, who played Walt Jr. and Gus on Breaking Bad. I remember he noted the line to see them was pretty short. The line to see Chandler Riggs, who played Carl on Walking Dead, was ludicrous.
Wait, ludicrous?
Ludicrously long.
Oh, sorry, I misheard you. I thought when he said ludicrous, I
was
thought
the actor.
Yeah, the actor. I was like, wait, I don't remember Ludacris ever being in The Walking Dead.
No. It's just that the line to see Chandler Riggs, who played Carl on Walking Dead, was ludicrously long.
Okay.
Meanwhile, this guy wanted to go meet Walt Jr. and Gus from Breaking Bad, and the line was not very long, apparently.
So how did they incorporate the real world aspects of this movie?
Well, it's set in the real world as it was like in 1994 when the movie came out.
Robert Englund even said that he based his posture off of Max Schreck from the original Nos.
Nosferatu.
It makes sense.
That's why I was wondering if the murders were more realistic instead of cartoony, since it's so
it's still supernatural. I mean, they play it completely serious. Like this real life version of Freddy has like no humor to him. So, yeah, New Nightmare I think is like in third place for my favorite movie in the series. Just because of its very unique premise.
So, according to IMDb, Wes Craven watched all the Nightmare movies before making this movie. By the time he was finished, he claimed that he could not follow the storyline whatsoever. And so that's why he came up with this concept.
In fairness, he's not wrong, because by the time of Nightmare 5 and 6, the plot was beyond incomprehensible.
So yeah, so I totally do get why.
Is your your trilogy still make sense, or is it all over the place now?
Yes, it does make sense. We do try our best to make it understandable. I mean, there are people who didn't understand the whole Dino Burger thing about Rise of the JWs. When I thought I made it perfectly clear about the conspiracy with fast food restaurants. Yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, Miku Hughes, who was in New Nightmare, he also was in Kindergarten Cop. He was the one in Kindergarten Cop who said, "Boys have penises and girls have vaginas."
Seriously? He plays Heather Langenkamp's son in that, I
Yep,
think.
that is the same kid.
Yeah, he was a friend of Michelle in the Full House series.
Uh-huh.
Funny.
So was Freddy Jason next in the series?
Yeah, Freddy vs. Jason was next, and it was notable for. I think we did talk about Freddy vs. Jason a bit in the Nightmare on Elm Street episode.
He did.
Yeah,
So I don't want to.
I mean, yeah, it was right now. No, I think you meant the Friday the 13th series.
Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th. I meant we talked about Freddy vs. Jason in that. So yeah, I mean, it was notable for the last time Robert Englund played Freddy.
Yes, it was.
Now,
and one of my big criticisms with Freddy vs. Jason, because it was really cool to see the two of them have their showdown.
Yes,
but one of my big criticisms is how they don't really connect it to like the older movies all that well. Like, it's mostly a new cast of characters besides Freddy and Jason themselves.
And like, Pamela Voorhees does come back, but she is played by someone else because
it's played by someone else. And the sad thing is, one way they could have celebrated both franchises a bit more is if they brought back more characters. And it's not like there were no characters left they could bring back. Like, Friday the 13th had Tommy Jarvis, and Nightmare on Elm Street had Alice, because Alice was still alive when we last saw her.
Yeah, and speaking of Alice, I've always wondered, why didn't they bring her back for Freddy's Dead? Like, whatever happened to Alice? So it was a missed opportunity to not bring back Alice. It was a missed opportunity to not bring back Tommy Jarvis. Although I did hear a rumor saying that they were going to have Tommy Jarvis. He was going to be played by Jason Bateman. Yeah, Jason Bateman. You guys would know him from the movie Identity Thief.
Okay.
Yeah, he was almost going to be Tommy Jarvis, but then they scrapped that for whatever reason.
And it's sad because it would have been cool to see Tommy Jarvis and Alice cross over, and they could have mentored the new characters.
Right, that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Or they could. Or what about Alice's kid? The whole point of the fifth movie.
But no, they don't get. They do have like a flashback montage of like stock footage from like both movies, but like aside from that, they don't really acknowledge the older movies.
So according to IMDb, James Wan was offered to direct this movie, but he was too busy directing Saw.
I mean, it's known that the guy who did take the director's chair didn't particularly care for either franchise.
Which is ironic, because when I was a teenager, when I watched the behind-the-scenes documentary, there was this girl who worked for New Line who said, yeah, we wanted somebody who's a fan of the series. Otherwise, why would you direct it? Only to find out that was a lie.
Yeah, I mean, at least he wasn't aggressively hostile towards the movie like Joe Chappelle was for Halloween Curse of Michael Myers.
Yeah.
But still, I don't think the guy who directed Freddy vs. Jason was a particular fan of like either franchise.
Yeah, like he never even saw any of the movies beforehand, and and they continuously were asking him to direct it. And yeah, one of the other choices to direct it was Rob Bottin, who did the effects for John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he almost was going to direct it. A lot of people almost were going to direct Freddy versus Jason.
I know Wes Craven himself was not a big fan of the movie. Of the Versus movie, yeah.
Movie?
What did he say that he was against?
I'd have to look it up because I know that it said it somewhere. Like, I'm gonna see this here. Okay, so basically, Wes Craven didn't like how the movie didn't have a whole lot of imagination and how it felt like it was all style, no substance.
Okay.
At least that's what he said.
So Coraline, the director Ronnie Yu constantly was trying to get Catherine Isabel, who was in Freddy vs. Jason, to do nude scenes.
Oh my
But
god.
Catherine did not want to get nude. So there was a lot of tension between those two on set. So eventually they settled on getting like a body double instead. Oh, so the leg of Camp Crystal Lake in this movie also was used for X-Men 2.
Interesting.
So it's the
It's
next
the remake,
one, the
yeah.
reboot they're doing now.
This was
So-
the first Freddy movie that I saw at the movie theater, actually.
I never saw it in theaters, but I do remember the trailers for it.
I do, yeah.
So here's my take on the remake. I know that people thought it was like nothing more than a shallow retread of the original movie. I know that most people don't have fond memories working on it, particularly Rooney Mara,
Yeah, I heard about that.
who is the new Nancy in this movie. And apparently she hated working on it so much she almost quit acting.
I heard about that.
But in spite of all that, I got to admit, I do think it was a decent. I thought it was a decent remake, and the big reason was Jackie Earle Haley, the new Freddy.
He was decent in the role. I just didn't like the makeup job. It just didn't look scary.
So this is a whole whole new universe then.
Timeline. It's a complete reboot.
Like, the thing with Jackie Earle Haley is that he, like, after years of Freddy being considered like an absolute joke outside like New Nightmare, for example, Jackie Earle Haley's take brought Freddy back to kind of how he was in the original movie, where he's super serious, he's very menacing, but he does have like a bit of dark humor to him. And yeah, like, it is, in my opinion, a damn shame that he never got to reprise the role.
Yeah, because I heard that there was supposed to be a sequel, but that was canceled probably because of the poor reception of the movie. And
well, all the big slasher franchises have been... Well, Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th have been dead since around that time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, they both died yet again. And I've heard attempts of another reboot.
When I was looking it up, it seemed like the last we heard of it is that they were trying to do something for HBO Max, and they were apparently trying to get Robert Englund back. But the thing is, I think Robert Englund has said that aside from like little joke appearances, that he's done playing Freddy because, simply put, the man is old. He can't really do Freddy the same way he did years ago.
Yeah, he's in his 80s now. Now, granted, yes, he did play Freddy in that TV show or whatever it was.
Yeah. Well, it's the going after teenagers. He can go. He attacks people in the night in the home in the cat nursing home. He goes out to the nursing home victims now. Friday the 13th, 8. It's time for bed.
So Freddy in the remake says that the human brain will still function well 7 minutes after death. That actually is scientifically true.
And the way he delivers the line is actually one of the creepiest bits.
It is. And
Like,
I will give the remake that. Even though I'm not really a big fan of the remake, I personally think it's kind of bland. And a lot of the acting is kind of bland too. But hey, I will give the remake credit. It did have some good moments.
yeah, well, here's the line. Did you know that after the heart stops beating, the brain can function for well over 7 minutes? We've got 6 more minutes to play.
Yes, I love that scene. And what I also love, and that one line where he goes, "Why are you screaming? I haven't even touched you yet."
It's actually more like this. Why are you screaming? I haven't even cut you yet.
Yeah, that was such a memorable line. And then,
Yeah, like, I gotta say, like, hey, because of Jackie Earl Haley alone, that's why I thought the remake was not as good as the original, but
of course, not.
I would be lying if I said I did not enjoy it.
So they have the same backstory or different backstory?
Well, so earlier we said how the original plan in the original movie was to reveal that Freddy was more than a child murderer, he was also a child predator. And let's just say the remake, they more directly imply it.
They don't show it, thank God, but they imply it. And
they do imply it, but the thing, this is where, before they reveal that, they actually play around with a bit more of an interesting idea that I am a little upset that they didn't go with, because it would have taken the remake in its own direction instead of just being a darker retread of the original that I guess you could say felt a bit uninspired. Basically, for a good chunk of the movie, they actually play with the idea that Freddy, this version of Freddy, was innocent. Like, basically, the parents, basically, they play with the idea that he actually genuinely loved the kids, like, not in the creepy way. Hey, but, like, and because of that, the parents making assumptions about him, they killed him for that reason.
So it's like,
they play with that idea for a little bit, but then they reveal the child predator implications, and they drop that.
I think that'd be cool. Like, you think I'm a child killer? Well, fine, I'll be a child killer then.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, had they taken the remake, and the thing is, apparently in an early draft of the script, they actually were going to make him innocent. Like, he didn't do anything wrong, but the parents killing him made him into the killer he is in the movie. Like, it seemed like they were actually going to go that route, but no, they changed course. They went with the dirty implications, and that he was even worse than the original.
They had the balls to go that route.
Yeah.
So overall, what's your opinion of the series as a whole?
I'm a fan of the series. I still would honestly say that I'm more of a fan of Halloween, to be honest. But am I a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street? Yeah, I mean, obviously I would have to be if I have all these autographs. But yeah,
I would say I personally prefer the other slasher series that Wes Craven is known for, which is Scream. But I do like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
No,
yeah,
I can't.
And especially that concept. There's so much that they can do with dreams, and with it being dreams, it doesn't have to be realistic.
Yeah.
No, I can't do this because I haven't seen all the movies. But since you have, you usually you rank these. You do rank these. What's your highest to lowest?
So my rankings would probably be 3 would be on top, 1 would be second, third would be probably 4. No. Third would be New Nightmare. Fourth would be 4. Fifth would be the remake. Sixth would be Freddy versus Jason. Seventh would be 5. Eighth would be 2, and then ninth and dead last would be 6.
So for me, the original is absolutely at number 1. Number 2 would be Dream Warriors. 3 would be New Nightmare. Then, hold up. I have to write this down so I won't get lost in track. So, sorry. Original, Dream Warriors, New Nightmare. Then I would have to say Freddy versus Jason. Then Dream Master. Then Dream Child. I have a soft spot for the original, for Freddy's Revenge, because it was the first one I saw. So I'll put that at number 7. As cheesy as Freddy's Dead was, I love that scene, like of Carlos' death scene, where he has the hearing aid, and then he has like the chalkboard, he's scratching it, and then his ear blows off, and then his ear falls into his hand and goes, "Nice hearing from you, Carlos." I laugh at that every time, so I guess I'll say Freddy's Dead for that one. Let's see. Okay, I mentioned the original, then Dream Warriors, New Nightmare, Freddy vs. Jason, Dream Master, Dream Child, Freddy's Revenge, Freddy's Dead. I think that's all the movies. So, in my opinion, I think I'll put the remake at Dead last, because I didn't like the makeup, and a lot of the acting was pretty bland. So that's just my own personal.
And that's fine. You know, freaking one of the funnier kills I'm thinking of would actually be from Freddy versus Jason, and it wasn't even Freddy who did it. So specifically, I'm thinking about the showdown part, and there's the one girl who distracts Freddy from like the other two, and like she's going on about how Freddy's not actually scary compared to Jason. Like she
Oh yeah, that one. And then that portion says, "Who's afraid of someone with a Christmas sweater?"
and and Freddy's like offended by that, but then she's like, "Oh, you're not even scary. You're not even scary. All you got are those teensy weensy little things." And then like you see Freddy like very slowly gets a smile on his face because he sees that Jason's right behind her, but she doesn't know that, and she's like, "Oh, you got these teensy weensy little things," and Jason, he's got this big old thing, and then Freddy's just like. And then she turns around, sees Jason. Jason just slashes him aside. And, like, the whole plot at that point, the reason why Freddy and Jason are fighting is because Freddy wanted Jason to, like, instill fear in everybody again so Freddy could come back. But now Jason is taking all Freddy's kills, and Freddy doesn't like that. But in that moment, Freddy's like, "Okay, Jason, you can have this one."
Deborah says you just have those butter knives.
Yeah.
That's one of the quotes she said.
Man. I love that scene. It's so memorable.
So wrapping up. As a director, would you do this series differently if you were directing it?
I would, yes, but we would be going on a lot longer than
Yeah.
we would. So
But
yeah, I'm interested to see what they'll do with the series next. I've been
If
hearing
they do anything at this point.
yeah, I've been hearing talks of another reboot for the longest time. Now, I would love to see Robert back as Freddy. I would love to see that, but I'm being brutally honest with you. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, like the man is old. Like at
Too old.
most, maybe we'll get him like sort of a remake cameo kind of thing.
Yeah, like as a cameo, yes.
Yeah.
As a cameo, sure. But as Freddy, I doubt it. I'm sorry, people. I truly do.
Yeah.
so anything coming up on your channels you want to talk about?
I have episodes of Let's Watch a Movie coming out. Almost done filming the third movie, so look forward to that. And funny that we're talking about horror movies. I actually got cast in a horror movie that's going to be filming in the summer.
Mm.
I don't know what the movie's about. All that I know is that it's a horror movie. So
Wow.
What about you, Nick? Anything on your channel coming up?
I'm doing a video series on a modded version of Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I'm just kind of doing a playthrough of it. Like, basically, I replaced the entire cast of Marvel characters with non-Marvel characters. I don't know if you've seen it, but a few of them are characters you'll recognize. There's Sora, there's Cloud.
okay.
Just to name a handful of them. Freaking other characters I put in: John Wick, RoboCop, the Terminator, a couple of Sonic characters, Kirby, Link, and Samus from Zelda and Metroid.
So it's just like one of your like a reboot of your shitty game franchise thing?
No, it's just a modded Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Ah.
The video Marvel Ultimate Alliance is a game. And I'm also helping my friend DL Jado on a game review he's doing of Left Alive on the PS4, because Left Alive is set in the universe of a game series I really like called Front Mission. And basically what I'm doing in this video is I'm basically doing a little segment where I talk about the Front Mission series because DL Jado knows nothing about it. Which is not surprising because Front Mission has been pretty abused by its publisher, Square Enix, because most of the entries in the franchise were never released outside Japan for no good reason.
I can't wait to see that. As for me, next Saturday, my next two guests, Dapper knows both of these guys. Landon Noel will be on next Saturday talking about the universe before the Big Bang happened and what was going on there. And in 2 weeks, we'll be talking. Pansexual Beat will be talking about Julius Caesar in our Roman history of Rome series. So, if you like prehistory and history, check those 2 episodes out in the next coming weeks. All right. So, you guys want to see your catchphrases?
I don't really have one.
Do you want to know what pisses me off?
And never stop learning and enjoy the randomness. We'll see you all next time.